So two things happened yesterday, right? The Pelicans lost a heartbreaker to the Brooklyn Nets, a game in which Brandon Ingram had 22 points at halftime and finished with 24 points. And that game was very important because in a second we'll get to the Pelicans' upcoming schedule. The other thing that happened was Shams reported that Zion will be out at least 4 to 6 weeks, which in my mind, judging how things go with Zion and the Pelicans organization as a whole, I would assume that 6 weeks is the minimum. To add on to that, this morning Shams again reported that Jose Alvarado will be out at least 6 weeks. So now the Pelicans are without Zion, Jose Alvarado, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, DeJounte Murray, and are they missing someone else? I know Trey Murphy just came back last game. Oh, and Jordan Hawkins. And you could look at this two different ways. You could say, man, if this team just gets healthy, it's so unlucky what's going on with them. That's a fair way to look at it. You could also look at this as the perfect opportunity for the Pelicans to pivot in a different direction. And if I say blow it up, that sounds more drastic than it actually is. Because I feel like the Pelicans are built very well if their superstar player was actually a superstar. And I want to put some of that on Brandon Ingram as well. But I also think it's unfair to judge BI because I don't think anyone at this point has, the delusion of thinking Brandon Ingram #1 option on a title contender. I don't think anyone, even BI stands, I don't think you guys believe that at this point in his career. But maybe we all believe that BI could be a very good #2 on a title contender. I believe that is a real possibility, but he hasn't really had that opportunity because like right now, Zion is often hurt. But we're now in a position where you probably can't trade Zion for any value. You have DeJounte Murray here, and Brandon Ingram is on an expiring deal. So I'm not sure why this situation would make you want to pay Brandon Ingram more. What exactly are we signing up for? Are we signing up to be an 8 seed going forward? And is that what your goal is? And if that's your goal, then fine, right? Some teams have that as a goal. I look at the Sacramento Kings where most teams, most fan bases are not that excited about their situation. Like, I love DeMar DeRozan. I don't think DeMar makes them a title contender. Now, maybe they can make other moves to do it. Maybe they trade Malik Monk for, a all-world defender, whoever that might be, right? But in general, most teams aren't signing up for Sabonis and Fox. Let's go. That's what we're doing. We're going all the way. That's not really how teams operate these days. But the Kings are an anomaly because they went over 20 years, right, without making the playoffs. So that makes sense for them. For this Pelicans team, is that your goal, especially when you have this opportunity right in front of you? And it also helps having a guy like Sabonis who doesn't miss games. So even if that was your goal, the Pelicans to be, a fringe playoff, that's not the goal, right? But even if it was, you don't have the solidified every night I'm showing up like they have in Sabonis and Fox. So that's not BI, that's not Zion. These guys miss a ton of time. I do think overall we've become way too much championship or bust, and I would say I contribute to that as well. A lot of people like me making these YouTube videos criticizing players and, organizations and front offices. We all contribute to that thought of championship or bust, right? We're all guilty of it to some certain extent. But I do think of teams like the Grit and Grind Grizzlies, where that was an amazing era. That was an amazing era. Those Memphis fans probably cherish those moments as much as other teams cherish championships. Like, it probably meant that much to the city of Memphis. That's not what this is. That's not what this has been. Zion doesn't mean to New Orleans what even a Zebo meant to Memphis. Like, that's not what this has been. Most teams don't win the championship, right? I think of like the early John Wall teams where, yeah, they didn't really win much, but that meant something to the city at the time, and John Wall got hurt, and it is what it is, right? Lob City Clippers, people think of that team as a failure. I'm from California. I went to a couple of those games. I remember that moment. I remember those teams, right? I remember how they made people feel. The Pelicans have not given that feeling to the city of New Orleans. They haven't. I'm not in New Orleans, I don't know, but they haven't given that feeling, to me at least, outside looking in. And when we talk about what teams should do going forward, nothing is in a vacuum, and I always try to stress that. Brandon Ingram is a good player, a player that should be paid, but it's not in a vacuum. It's not that simple. You have DeJounte Murray on an affordable deal, right? If you had BI on DeJounte's deal, no question, you keep him, you keep it pushing, and you try to build around whatever you can do, right? But to me, changing your mind because Zion got hurt again, which was extremely predictable, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to give BI near max money now, all of a sudden. When you still got Zion on the books, you still got CJ on the books, you got Trey, you got DeJounte. To me, the only reason to pay BI would have been if this team was amazing and they look like a real contender. That's the only way I thought there was a chance of BI getting paid the amount he wants to be paid. So unless you're getting BI on a similar deal to the one DeJounte Murray is on right now, a very affordable, very tradable deal, I don't see the value in bringing him back. To me, BI is the guy you trade for when you already have something established, kind of like the Sacramento Kings just did with DeMar DeRozan, right? A team like that should be trying to get BI. I don't think you should be trying to build around BI at this point. I'm almost never in favor of a team just going and blatantly tanking, but the situation has really presented itself on a platter for the New Orleans Pelicans to go tank this year, go try to get Cooper Flag. And I said I was going to mention their upcoming schedule earlier. Again, they are 3-8 right now, and this is their upcoming schedule. Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers, Mavericks, Cavs, Warriors, Pacers. That's their next 7. And I think the only guy that might be back during that stretch is CJ McCollum, but even that's going to be like at least 4 games from now. So that 7, what do we realistically think they're going to be doing here? If they go 2-5, they are now 5-13 on the year, with Zion out at least 3-4 more weeks at that point. And I'm asking you guys, at that point, is it okay to tank? It might sound crazy right now at 3-8. When you look at the Mavs are 5-5, right? Just a couple games ahead of the Pelicans. The Mavericks have Luka Doncic. They're not worried. They're good. They're not worried about anything going forward as long as they have Luka. The Pelicans are extremely worried. Zion's not playing again, and it's just not worth putting that investment in Brandon Ingram going forward, CJ McCollum going forward. And the only reason I'm not talking about trading Zion potentially is because I don't think you really can get any significant value for Zion. I'm not sure what value you can get for BI either. I think you can get real value for CJ McCollum. I think a lot of teams could convince themselves that they are a CJ McCollum away. But the Pelicans are in this very unique position where they can welcome a top pick to a good situation, to a very good situation with or without Brandon and Zion. I think that the Pelicans should get rid of both of them, honestly, but I don't think you can get rid of Zion right now. But bringing a good, let's just say Cooper Flag, right? You bring in Cooper Flag to a situation where you have DeJounte Murray, where I'm saying you keep DeJounte because of the deal, not because I'm in love with DeJounte as a player, but that deal is good value. He's a good player. He's a good guard to have with a Cooper Flag if you get Cooper Flag, right? But you got DeJounte, you got Herb, you got Trey, you got Jordan Hawkins, you got Messi. In theory, you still have Zion coming back next year, who knows, right? And you have whatever you get for CJ, whatever you get for BI, probably some good veteran role players. And hypothetically, you're getting a first-round pick or multiple first-round picks for BI and or CJ. And I'm not saying, oh, look, they're a title contender now, but I am saying if Cooper Flag is that guy that Zion is not, that BI is not, if Cooper Flag is Paolo and you put Paolo in a situation with DeJounte, Hawkins, Trey, Herb, like you're building something real there as opposed to year 7 of just bringing back Brandon Ingram and Zion. And also, I'm not the highest on Trey Murphy. I thought I was, right? I was singing Trey Murphy's praises since his rookie year, and I still think he's going to be an amazing player. But some people see something in Trey Murphy that I don't see at all. But in this hypothetical, now we actually get to see it. Now we actually get to see Trey Murphy with the ball more. I think Herb Jones actually has a lot more to his game that he will never get to show on this team with BI and Zion. I think Jordan Hawkins, if you give him opportunity in 2 years, might be better than CJ McCollum, just accounting for CJ getting older and Hawkins getting better. So Messi, who knows what you have in Messi, just let him run wild. Stop worrying about winning this year, let him run wild. So not only to me would keeping BI, keeping CJ on this year's team hamper your odds of getting a Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey or whoever, it also hinders the development in theory, right? It doesn't always work that way. People develop in different ways, but hinders opportunity for Jordan Hawkins go. Jordan Hawkins, if those guys aren't here, is going to have multiple 30-point games, just being real. It hinders whatever Trey Murphy might be able to do as a shot creator. And that sounds right, like, how do I put it? That, in theory, is not a bad thing, right? In theory, you love Trey Murphy in just the catch and shoot role, but that was all the plan. if this team was competing for something real. Paying Brandon Ingram was if this team was competing for something real. If we all can take a step back and acknowledge this team is not winning anything this year, and acknowledge that Brandon Ingram is on an expiring deal and CJ McCollum is in his mid-30s, what are we doing? Let Jordan Hawkins go crazy. And here's the thing, you also increase those guys' trade value. Not saying you're trying to trade them, but if you trade BI and CJ this year and Jordan Hawkins averages 20 points a game, I know that sounds crazy, but if that happens, all of a sudden you have a real trade piece. Look at what Dyson Daniels is doing right now in Atlanta. And again, I'm not saying the Pelicans should have afforded him that opportunity on their team, because they shouldn't have, right? But if he was able to do that last year, he would have had more value. It just seems like the most obvious thing in the world that the Pelicans have a perfect opportunity to pivot right now. And also, while I was recording this, I seen that Brandon Ingram posted this on his Instagram. This is a scene from Scarface, right? Scarface, don't kill me if I'm wrong on that. But the scene where he's saying you need people like me so you can point fingers, like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that at all. It almost seems, maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but it seems like Brandon Ingram thinks his value might be going up with this situation, when to me it's the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. Well, not necessarily the complete opposite, but it just makes less sense to pay him if you're not a winning team. To me, that was the only real way the Pelicans were gonna cave and pay BI what he wanted to be paid, was if they looked like a championship contender. Paying BI because Zion is not available so you could be the 8th seed again, that just doesn't seem like a smart way to run your organization. But maybe I'm wrong. The BI stands will let me know in the comments down below. What do you think the Pelicans should do as a team? Do you feel like the tank is a smart move? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys could please drop a like on this video. If you guys noticed, I was pretty much MIA the last couple weeks because I was extremely sick. You could probably still hear it. I'm still battling it. But if you guys know YouTube, you know if you take a break, the YouTube algorithm can really, take effect. So if you guys like the video, let them know I'm still here. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.